his name. He has been a bit of a dark horse in every single Premiership. As soon as you count this man out, he seems to just turn up and make the final. So Rogue ban for George, Priest ban for Mysterious, and Warlock Rogue Druid remains for Mysterious, and Mage, Priest, and Warlock. So there is the Mage for George. But I mean, once again, George, just looking at it, or ball control, I'm not going to call you George, because that's,
yes, that's awkward.
But just looking at those, then is there anything that you think you can tell from these lineups?
Right, so GeorgeC, interestingly, he hasn't brought Mage all season. Although you did say it's his iconic deck in the Freeze Mage, this is the first time he's played it. Banning the Priest indicates that he's gone for a very control-y lineup, trying to prey on the aggro decks of Mysterious. So I imagine it's a control Warlock, a control Priest, and a control Mage. We've seen the control Warlock in previous weeks, and that ran double Geist, I think, to try and beat up Jade Druid, which Mysterious has been playing. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's just, trying to beat up on these aggressive decks of Zoo and Rogue with these control decks.
And it would not surprise me whatsoever if Mysterious does go for some form of aggression as well. He certainly showed it in previous renditions of the Premiership that he can tailor to either aggression or control, but I feel like he's more comfortable when it comes to these aggressive or tempo variants of decks. But that will remain to be seen. Who is going to be the winner? Who is going to be the final player that qualifies for the live finals in January as we dive into the first game of the final series of the evening. And it is going to be George kicking things off with his Mage against Mysterious, who's going to be running his Warlock.
Yeah, so just looking at things, GeorgeC recently posted a list that you think he got Legend with, a Mage list that ran 1 Volcanic Potion. It was just a burn list. And then Mysterious, he just had... he just loved playing Zoo, it looks like. He actually changed his ban strategy. He banned Priest in week 2 and then Druid in week 3. And now he's banning in week 4 Rogue. So it'll be interesting to see if he's brought like different things again. He hadn't played a Warlock in previous weeks as well. So he's definitely changed things up for George.
This Volcanic Potion is going to be massive for George in this matchup as well, just being able to deal with these little minions on board. Of course, there are Void Walkers there, which do survive the Volcanic Potion, unless he were to play it in conjunction with a Thalnos or something. But interested to see how George pilots this, because George is always very, very, very critical of how people play Mage.
Yes.
And quite rightly so. I mean, if you've seen the amount of games he's played as Mage, it's something like 14,000 or something ridiculous.
23,000 wins as Mage.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so that's probably like 100,000 games or something.
That is absolutely insane. So if you want to learn how to play Mage, probably watch GeorgeC.
Yeah, he's recently started streaming, hasn't he? So,
yes.
Yeah, lots of experiments. So we coin pings into pings to deal with this playing with no Frostbot in his hand, unfortunately. He's going to probably try and set up for Thalnos Volcanic.
Ooh.
That's but that is a great pickup. Just basically, this is like the Warlock's version of Blessing of Kings. And this 4/6 is super annoying. Obviously, it's a turn before the Fireball turn. There's just no way to remove it. Yeah,
GeorgeC just has to literally stare at this 4/6 and eat 4 damage turn after turn until he can find a way to deal with it. And I mean, there isn't a way to deal with it for quite a while, unless you can find something from Primordial Glyph.
And that's a great pickup. That just helps Mysterious fill out his curve here as aggressive as possible. He might want to trade here into his Acolyte Pain. The reason George plays the Acolyte over the Arcane Intellect is because potentially he can just heal for 4 here. And it's a very aggressive matchup. He wants to be able to like save his HP, and it does end up healing for 4. Yeah, and I imagine Mysterious is just going to Hell for Leather. You could be worried about Frost Nova Doom on 5, but I really don't think you can afford to play around that.
So a lot of board presence already for Mysterious. I'm looking at George's hand as well, and this turn, okay, Frostbolt coming out helps ever so slightly. You might be able to stop a little bit of damage coming towards your face. See what he gets here off the Glyph.
Yeah, ooh. So the Freezing Potion can, of course, reduce up to 4 damage right now, maybe more damage later if the Councilman grows. The Barrier activates Medivh's Valet. There's no other secret in hand, and he's got 2 Medivh's Valet, so he could use that. But that would be on future turns, maybe next turn, double Valet plus the secret, but he does just choose the Frostbolt here, take the Freezing Potion. He wants to set up for the Volcanic Potion plus Thalnos next turn, it looks like, potentially.
Yeah, so he's going to keep Freezing Potion here. There's Blood Reaver Gul'dan, so I mean, it's not too impactful now, but actually that could come in handy a little bit later if we get that far.
Yeah, so it can change up the math completely for GeorgeC. Sometimes you can just set up lethal against the Warlock, and of course Gul'dan heals for 5 and then the hero power each turn. That can help pop ice blocks if the board's frozen, and it can of course heal you out of range, so it could be really powerful. We just see the full curve out here for Mysterious.
So here now for George, does have option of Thalnos plus Volcanic just to deal with a little bit of this board, which you might have to.
Yeah, so this 3 damage sets up for the Blizzard next turn. He's going to use a freezing potion right now on the Councilman. He thinks that's going to push more damage than the Dreadlaw, which makes sense. 2 minions is likely to come down.
Also,
and that's the Blizzard, yeah, that he played for with this Thanos play.
Yeah, that's and that's something that George has always prided himself on, is knowing his outs, and just, I guess it comes down to trusting your deck and saying, well, what's the chances of me drawing this card? I imagine he is a very statistical player, especially when it comes to Mage.
Yep. So Mysterious chooses to go for the Fledgling here over the Captain, thinking that if he can avoid the Blizzard, then it's just hopefully going to win next turn. But we do see the Blizzard coming down, and he's just going to redevelop again.
Blood Imp is pretty interesting.
Yep. So what this Fledgling does, it forces the ping out, which means he can't GeorgeC can't fire lands. But yeah, the Blood Imp could also heal it up, which could deny the ping, which should be really good here.
Is Blood Imp something that we've seen often in Zulok recently? Have I missed a trick there?
There's like 2 different builds. There's a really demon-heavy build,
yeah,
which plays the Blood Imp, and it plays the 4-mana Crystal, what's it called, Crystal Weed or something, and it buffs up all the demons. And there's another version which doesn't play that demon package, and that version normally plays 4 pirates and stuff, but yeah, we do see Mysterious piloting the double Blood Imp. It's definitely a viable strategy.
Trouble is you are bringing them back with Blood Reaver go down, right? Because they're demons too.
Yep, but I mean it's only a trouble if you play 7 demons.
Yeah. Okay.
He's only played he's played 2 Voidwalkers, 2 Blood Imps, and the Despicable so far, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
I like the tap here over developing the Blood Imp. What does the Blood Imp really do here? Not much at all.
Yeah, except potentially absorbing up some of your board space, because it's just going to sit there unless there's any sort of AoE damage, like another Blizzard or a Flame Strike potentially.
So GeorgeC's just thinking about his plays here. Can he afford to try and get through this Cairn over 2 turns, or does he just push damage face? 4 damage here goes to 17, but he doesn't have the block up, he doesn't have barrier yet, so I imagine, 2 fireballs, so he can definitely, this completely changes his hand. Maybe the burnout is just there. He can potentially Frost Nova this turn, but does he need to? Is there ever going to be 7 damage from hand?
But then what else do you do? I mean, I'm thinking Frost Nova ping. You could always Acolyte and ping.
Yeah, so of course double fireball's 12 fire lands, and that would that adds up. If you, yeah, I think he's just scared of if he doesn't Frost Nova here, then there's a potential for Bone Mate into Soulfire, and without block up, he can't really. At least I think there's no block up.
There is.
Is it barrier? Okay.
Yeah, it's barrier that he played earlier. There's a Doom Guard, so there is a way to push a little bit of damage from Mysterious, but if he doesn't trade, he is just dead. Of course, he won't.
This is one of those turns where you just want to play Doom Guard and not discard the Gul'dan, but.
Yeah, and if you tap and then play Doom Guard and then trade into 1, you're also dead.
Yes, you've got to also be worried about dying as well.
How much of a read does Mysterious have that there is damage in George's hand? 5 cards, likelihood. He's drawn already, what, 12?
Yeah. The one thing as well about playing Blood Imp package, normally you don't play Chain Gang, so the only taunt off the tap after seeing 2 Voidwalkers would be Bone Mare. So the tap is a bit weaker in that respect, but I don't really think you can afford to play on double fireball, although GeorgeC has played very aggressive. This Frost Nova here indicates burn from GeorgeC's hand. He wants these 2/3s to live, so we could see just the no tap here. Ooh, and is he just not going to play Doom Guard? So that's just game.
Yep, not playing Doom Guard, so that means there is plenty of damage to finish this one off. So George, the Mage expert, gets a win and goes 1-0 up here in potentially Mysterious's final series of the Premiership if he can store a comeback. But George, a decent game 1, very well played, was able to use the Arcane Intellects to look for more. He used, of course, the Blood Mage Thalnos to try and get extra draw to get towards that Blizzard as well. But what else can we say, except he's very good at playing Mage.
Yeah, you can see the lines there, the coin ping, saving the Blood Mage Volcanic for turn 5, all planned out, all perfectly went in his favour, and using the Frost Nova there, he sees the line, once you've drawn the 2 fireballs, his game plan changes, I can just kill the opponent, and you see, yeah, expertly played. And
now George may have an idea of what he's going to be facing for the remainder of these classes as well. Mysterious bringing that Zulok does that tell a tale of what he's bringing, certainly with this current meta. your ban tailors very much to what you're going to be bringing, and you often see very similar deck styles. But Rogue and Druid left, so potentially maybe Tempo Rogue. Well, I think it'd be Tempo Rogue and maybe like an aggro Druid or something like that. But for George, he's a little bit more difficult to predict. Mysterious seeing that mage, that doesn't tell him very much at all. I imagine Mysterious would have done his research on previous weeks, but now he's seen that mage, he's like, okay, George plays a lot of mage. What on earth am I going to be facing now?
I think George is, you say he's not predictable, but he likes his control decks.
Yep.
If I was facing George, I would personally presume this is Rosaka's Priest and the Control Warlock, because we're just looking at previous weeks as well. He's played Control Warrior a lot, played Control Warlock previously. So yeah, I would definitely imagine that George is playing the double guys Control Warlock we saw in week 3. And I'm wrong.
Yeah, you are wrong, and he's got Kalaseth as well there, so that's a perfect start for George. For Mysterious, I imagine he's probably going to toss most of this away. To be fair, I'd be tempted to toss all of it away. SI7 Agent is always tempting to keep when you have a coin, but you really just want to look for that Kalaseth. I mean, what's your opinion on this Mulligan? Oh, okay, no, he's capped so much, that really surprises me.
These are all good cards in the matchup. Backstab, SI, and Swash. Swash on 1, Dagger on 2, Backstab, SI on 3 is a really strong play. So I definitely agree with the Mulligan from Mysterious. You don't need the Prince to win this matchup. You can just win by having a better early game. And Backstab and SI are the best cards you can have in the early game.
Yeah, I think that certainly when I'm playing, it may be my downfall, but also the reason why I win games is because I heavily mulligan for Kalaseth. I think certainly in a tournament setting, you can't afford to make too much of a risk with your mulligan. But George isn't too sure about actually playing this Kalaseth straight away. There is, of course, an option for Flame Imp plus Voidwalker instead. Yeah,
so he's got to think about this a lot. So if he plays the Kalaseth here, he knows that Mysterious kept 3 cards. None of them have been played. So I think he might be making notes here about the cards that could be in Mysterious's hand. There would be Backstab, SI, Swash, maybe an Edwin on the coin, maybe a Prince Kalaseth for Mysterious, but there aren't too many other cards he would keep, so he could definitely go for the spreading wide play here, which is just better against those cards I mentioned, especially with Blood Fury Potion in hand. Like, playing 3 minions, are they all going to die ever?
Now, speaking of making notes, regardless of whether George was or wasn't, is that something you do in online games as well? Of course, Deck Tracker is able to be used during online games, but do you practice for events by taking notes before you go to them?
I make notes about archetypes and key cards. Online events. Offline events, you can make a lot more notes about what happened during the game. But yeah, mainly just he's playing this type of deck so I don't forget in future, and he's playing this weird tech card.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we see the payoff here for the previous play by George, holding on to this Prince with this Blood Fury Potion.
Yeah, nothing too influential has come out as well after that. And there's Patches, that's horrible.
So Mysterious did have a nice clear here with Swash, Dagger, trade the 2 1/1s, but unfortunately now he has to Dagger and Patches, removing the 1/1 from the board, which could be disastrous. I mean, it might be in the Scalebane, doesn't get to buff anything. Yeah, it's just obviously drawing Patches is bad. I need not say this.
No, it made George chuckle regardless, and that's always good. It's always nice to see GeorgeC smile. He's a very jolly chap. He pretends he's not, but he is actually a really nice guy. But there we go. Just to return the damage, Patches drawn on his side as well.
Wow, I don't think I've ever seen symmetrical Patches draws like that as well. Especially, he's again just holding on to the Patches here because of the Dagger charge, and that's a Bittertide Hydra. So Mysterious puts that in his deck, Bittertide and Scalebane in the same deck. He's anticipating, oh my goodness, that's Defile. But he's anticipating control decks from George. That's why he has the Bittertide and the Scalebane.
Defile
oh
is actually massive. As a tempo rogue, you do really struggle against wide boards. That Defile could just swing the game in your favor. If suddenly George decides to go wide thinking, yeah, okay, what can Mysterious do? Suddenly you find a way. I mean, of course, the minions have to line up and they have to add up, right? But that might be a way to swing the game back in your favor.
I would love to see GeorgeC playing around Defile at some point, but I really doubt that's going to happen.
No, I really doubt it. If it does happen, there will be an Inquisition.
Yeah, so we see the Prince coming down here. And, obviously play the Prince first before tapping. That's a great draw. So the Blood and Buffed is really nice. And I doubt Hydra's going to come down ever, considering there's Defile in hand. You don't want to play Hydra on the same board as Defile. Yeah, you learn that one the hard way.
Yeah, I've seen it happen. I haven't actually had it happen to me myself, so that's I'm thankful because that would be pretty painful. Has it happened to you before?
No, but I remember it happening going back to Trinity Series where they missed lethal.
Yep.
Who was it? It was Planet Odd, missed lethal, yeah. So what we could see here is the potential for a plan to set up. For the defile, but yeah, he can just defile SI here and clear the board. GeorgeC giggles about that, but you could have held on, be really greedy, and go for the defile next turn. I almost like that more and play the Scalebane, but since he has a good defile now, he's going to take it. There might be a chance to defile is bad next turn, but I really didn't see that happening personally.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've learned of Mysterious is he likes to take opportunities when he has them. He's a very safe player. He doesn't seem to wait too long to do these kind of plays, so it's not a massive surprise. Yeah,
so if GeorgeC played the patches fast enough there, maybe Mysterious doesn't think it's been drawn, but no.
Yeah.
It makes sense as well for Mysterious to clear because his follow-up is 1-drop Fastbind into 5-drop Dagger, and that means that he expects George to develop like one big guy, as he has done. The Fastbind cleans that up and you're so far ahead in terms of tempo. So it looks like even though one player drew Prince and one player didn't, we see the power of other cards in the decks coming through here.
Yeah, the power of Tempo Rogue as well, to be honest. The Defile was pretty important. I mean, without the Defile, how far behind would Mysterious end up is the real question.
Yeah. The Defile dealt like 5 damage for 2 mana, which is insanely strong. So he could hold back the Varspine here because he might be thinking, I might want a better target. He can just trade the 3-3, but it just seems too good here. You're so far ahead on the board state. He knows that one card in GeorgeC's hand is Patches, and there's another random card, so he doesn't need to play around too much.
Yeah, horrid hand for George. At least he's been able to draw something, and because of Kaliseth, it means at least he has some buffed up minions to put on the board.
Yeah, so George is just trying to stick it out till turn 10, but that's not going to happen. That's a disgusting pickup from Mysterious, and that just means the board gets cleared. If he wants to, he could also just smack George in the face.
I think you get rid of the Councilman. I think most people do, just because the Councilman could do some damage if it starts to get built up. Although Mysterious probably will have the read that one of those cards is high mana and can't be played. It looks like he's going to clear everything and pretty much put this game to bed.
Yeah, so that's 15 damage output. The Spellbreaker does reduce that a lot. And we do see Doomguard potentially into a Gul'dan. So next turn there could be a tap into Doomguard play. And maybe he can come back with this Blood Reaver on 10 if there's no lethal push.
Ooh, Shadow Step is pretty juicy. You can Shadow Step this Bone Mare if you really wanted. Or even just the Valspine Slayer for an easy trade.
So it's quite an interesting turn. You could Shadow Step the Bone Mare, smack him in the face, even more damage with the Valspine Slayer. Or you could just not Shadow Step anything and just develop a 5-drop. Or the Soundnet Chain Gang to protect these two, and then you definitely have the Shadow Step next turn if you play the Chain Gang, because he can't kill everything, right? But he does choose to just clean this up. I mean, we're talking about tiny things here. This Hydra's never going to be removed. This looks like it's the game sewn up.
Yeah, it was the Spellbreaker looked like a minor hope for George, but Mysterious does tie this series up 1-1 then, manages to get a win with his Rogue. Tempo Rogue, as we expected for him, and I'm sure George would have expected as well when he saw Rogue in the lineup, but not banning Rogue, so probably has something to deal with Rogue now. Well, those kind of decks, those aggressive decks. So he's got rid of his Mage. I'm wondering what the last one's going to be for George. That would be the real question. I mean, you've played against... Have you played against GeorgeC before? I know you would have played Mysterious, right?
I played against GeorgeC a lot on ladder, but never in a competitive sort of best of 5 setting, I don't think.
Okay, and from when you played Mysterious then, because did you play him in the Grand Final?
Yeah, I played Mysterious in the Grand Final
of Season 1,
and
right?
2.
Oh, both?
I think I played him in both. Yeah.
Wait, no. Oh, yeah, as in
I played him in
both, yeah, but not actually in the Grand
Not
Final,
actually in the Grand, yeah.
But Mysterious left with Warlock and Druid then. If you were going up against Mysterious, would you have any... Do you think you'd have a read on what he'd be playing or what this Druid might be after you'd seen both the Warlock and the Rogue, or would you just be expecting it to be a Jade Druid or an Aggro Druid?
So with the Rogue ban, I would presume it's going to be Big or Jade. Without seeing any ban, no Mysterious, he could play anything. He could be Aggro, definitely, and that could be a throw maybe. He plays Aggro and bans Rogue, as Toast Monster did in the previous week, just to confuse your opponent. But it's just the Zoom Mirror here.
Yeah, Zoom Mirror, so you want to get those early drops. You want to get Kaliseth, of course, which neither have found Kaliseth, but at least they do have some 1-drops, but Mysterious hand is looking a little bit more clunky than George's.
Yeah, he grimaces, but he still has the 1-on-1. He can still top deck his way out of this. George, of course, with a better hand here. Yeah, there's coins like the Soulfire for maximum board tempo. He really wants to cycle one of these cards. They're way too expensive in his hand.
Does mean he doesn't have the coin into Blood Fury, but it doesn't matter because he's tossed that away anyway.
Probably the one card he wanted to keep.
Yeah. But there is one Mortal Coil. We haven't seen much Mortal Coils in Zulux, certainly today anyway.
Yeah, so this turn for Mysterious, he could develop the Void Walker for some board tension, but then he's floating a mana. What's he doing on turn 3? Nothing. So I'd imagine a tap, but he believes in his deck. He knows how many 3-drops he has for next turn. He knows how many 1-drops he has for 1 drop into 3, so he's going to hope he draws a 3 or a 1 next turn and doesn't fall too far behind.
Actually, Patches wasn't too bad there for George as well. It means he can just get rid of everything, or get rid of the Void Walker. It means there's no worry of Blood Fury as well, so that's not too bad. But Mysterious, he believed in his cards, but they have failed him.
Yeah, so he could have just got an extra tap in basically here if he'd tapped on the previous turn. Very small thing, but we see George also has a very awkward hand. Mysterious grimacing a lot, but he shouldn't be grimacing. They've both got awkward hands.
Yeah, it's because George went for the play of the tempo and using the Soulfire, it means that Mysterious has well and truly stayed in this game. Saronite Chain Gang has a lot of board presence, but I feel like, yeah, Imp into Blood Fury does put a big chunky minion on the board that makes it awkward for your opponent to deal with.
So the Imp into Blood Fury, they're both, like, the 1-mana card's really flexible in future turns. The Saronite Chain Gang's a bit more clunky, and it does contest board here, so it's definitely not so clear. Although you have seen a Soulfire, so that's the main punish for this Flamer play, so I quite like it here. It does, of course, contest the board as well.
And I'm wondering how much it comes into play for Mysterious that he is going up against GeorgeC in his final match for the Premiership as well. I mean, I think from what I know of him, it doesn't really phase who he's playing against because he is just this man of mystery and has beaten some of the best UK players already. So I'd like to think it wouldn't come into the equation.
Yeah, I don't think it does for Mysterious. I think he just, just look at his face. He always looks the same each time. He's not phased at all. We see GeorgeC developing the 2 HP guys here. That's, he's thinking about the potential of Despicable Dreadlord here, wants to play around it.
South Sea Captain off the top. So this, like, Doomguard is such an awkward card in this deck, and it seems to be in this position so often that you want to play it, but you just can't realistically because the chances of you tossing away both Bone Mare and Golden could happen.
So Mysterious has got the best plan for his opponent's turn, which is probably going to be Doomguard as well, or a Dreadlord. He obviously wants to kill off the Makazar's Imp, but he's going to also want to kill off this Flame Imp probably. Doomguard is the most mana efficient play. You could still see it come down here, trade into the Flame Imp, trade the 6/5 into the 1/3. You're never going to be able to play Doomguard and not discard 2 cards with this hand. You just have to sort of accept that fact. It just depends when you're going to play the Doomguard.
I wonder what the odds of Doomguard into Bone Mare and Goldan on both sides of the board is.
Probably quite. I mean, they're not...
It's not awful. I mean, I'm no mathematician, but Mysterious doesn't want to take that risk.
Yeah, so he's just going to tap. The Captain pulls Patches, which kills the Imp. He basically makes a 3/3 of this play. Playing the Doomguard makes a 5/4. So you're losing 2/1 stats, and for that you get to tap and keep 2 cards. So it definitely seems worthwhile to do this play.
Not quite the freedom for George, though, on his side to go for something like that. He doesn't have the luxury, so I think he's going to have to Doomguard and hope he doesn't discard anything too valuable.
Yeah, Doomguard's just the only play here, unless he wanted to tap and hope for a strong top deck. But yeah, it looks like Doomguard is going to be his play. Which one would he trade into is interesting. Oh, as you were saying.
Yeah, that's horrendous.
Yeah, so he plays around the Despicable Dreadlord here by taking this trade. He does allow a... Oh, that's a great draw. That's exactly what he's looking for by tapping and holding onto this Doomguard.
Go on, do it. Bone Mare and Broadweaver. What are the odds? Nearly. We got 3 out of the 4. But yeah, absolutely perfect draw for Mysterious means that you can just fill up this hand once again and take a humongous lead in this mirror.
You can see the huge payoff here from Mysterious's plays. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense for him to do what he did. And that is a Blood River... No, that's a Despicable Dreadlord top deck, I think. We only got to see the card text, so... Yeah,
it was the Dreadlord. So that at least helps deal with some of this board.
Yeah, so that'll kill off the Flame Imp if he wants to. Oh no, sorry, the only boss by 1. Yeah. I was thinking about a piece of Sergeant briefly then, but no, of course, you just kill the Doomguard. But he's so far behind now. This Crystal Weaver is going to buff 2 of them if he wants it. He could also just play Bone Mare, and that's a disgustingly good trade with the if he buffs up the Imp. But he could also just trade the 6-2 into the 4-5. He's got to think about what could GeorgeC possibly have that could make him come back into this game, and it might be a second Despicable.
So many possibilities.
Or a Bone Mare, so he's going to want to clear the board for the Bone Mare, definitely.
Yeah, that's true. Going into 7, but it's yeah, that does make it more of a difficult turn if you are worried about it. Which looks like he might just go down the route of Crystal Weaver and Fledgling.
Yeah, putting this Fledgling down it's only a 3-3 now, but when you're ahead on board, you want to get that down as early as possible, get that snowballing. Of course, Despicable Dreadlords and stuff just don't kill it. It's really awkward here for GeorgeC. Nothing he can really do.
Yep, he will search for any other answers. Does have the councilman.
Ooh,
Guards
and
there
we go. That's,
yeah.
that's the punish for this play. But it's not exactly really a punish. Oh my, that's what he was looking for. Soulfire plus Bone Mare here completely wipes out GeorgeC's board.
Yeah, probably puts Mysterious 2-1 up as well. Don't really see a comeback mechanic for George anymore. With Doomguard's gone, his Blood Reaver Gul'dan's gone, so yep, he concedes.
And GeorgeC is gone.
GeorgeC may be gone from the Premiership. He is 1 game away from being eliminated. There was a lot of expectations on George's shot. I certainly remember week 1. Who was with me week 1? Was it Darrock? I think it was Darrock. Yeah. We were discussing George and we were saying we think he might just run away with it because he's such a good player. But as you led to earlier, this is the first tournament where he's had to go from match to match and try and predict what people are playing. But certainly not over yet. I mean, we just saw Hello Leroy come from a 2-0 deficit. Maybe we'll see George return from a 2-1 deficit. Does still have his Warlock and his Priest, but now we're down to just that Druid. And we had the conversation already previously. Yeah. What kind of Druid are we expecting from Mysterious? I'm thinking this might be an aggro Druid, you know. Well, we'll see. That's just that is the question when it comes to Conquest, isn't it? We're going to see when it comes on the screen, which is going to happen right now. There we have it. Game number 4 and potentially the last game. It's going to be Big Druid.
Yeah.
Ball control. You are right. Again, I'm going to give you one of these.
Oh, thanks, Dan.
That's the first of the show. I just wanted to save it for a special moment. I think that was right.
And that's a special hand for Mysterious to have, yeah, a bunch of unplayables. And that's the Prince from George. So talking about what George needed to come back in this game, that is what he has it exactly. 1 drop into Prince. You need to really snowball the other game. And Mysterious has managed to get himself a 2-pair of the most unplayable cards.
I mean, Innovate is obviously interesting to be included now, but it is there because it works obviously with UI and the fact that Big Druid can pull out all these big cards. At least Wrath helps deal with a little bit of this early pressure. But
yeah, so the Innovate is good in this matchup if you have something to innovate out.
Yes.
But without any, normally you want to be innovating out the Noish to get that ramp going. He might even cycle the Wrath here in order to get something playable from his deck. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. And there we go. And yeah, that's a 3-pair of unplayables.
What are we playing? He's playing the wrong game here. He's not playing Hearthstone, is he?
Yeah. That's unfortunate. Well, imagine GeorgeC will just... he could tap plus the 1-drop here. Makes a lot of sense. Ooh, these Doom Guards are going to push so much damage. That's a 6-8 with charge on turn 5. And it won't even... It's going to give him cards back at this rate.
Is it Jim Rummy or Go Fish Mysterious is playing? That's what I'm trying to work out. One of the two.
Well, that's a good draw.
Yeah, that's at least something to get this ramp train on the go. But is it going to be a little bit too late?
Doomguard on double Imp means that GeorgeC will never be running out of resource this game. A Soulfire even. It doesn't even matter if he discards Doomguard. He's going to be playing one of them anyway. Yeah,
you just want to finish this game as quick as possible, so that extra 4 damage is going to be massive. And you can just draw into more resources as well.
And these minions he draws are buffed, don't forget that.
Yep.
So it's even better for George.
What can we see from Mysterious to keep him in this game, though?
Yeah, it's going to need to be a
Nourish?
Primordial Drake and a Nourish. Probably Primordial Drake next turn. No, Nourish next turn into the... I mean, if he Nourishes next turn, he can go straight into Ultimate Infestation.
Oh, wait, he could play this Primordial Drake now, right? If he really wanted to. Coin, Innovate. But that's...
And then he could try and... I mean, he's going to be really optimistic about his curve. So if he plays Primordial Drake now, then he draws into... Spreading Plague. He might be thinking that's his only way back into this game, and he is going for it. You can see just the nerfed Innovate there. He would be playing UI this turn.
Job's done.
Yeah, well, Innovate needed to be nerfed.
Yeah.
There are some more questionable Druid cards on their way as well. What are people calling it? The Twig?
Yeah, yeah. The give you instant mana. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that is in insane play. He's going to be able to clean up and keep a 6-4 alive. Mysterious, obviously, as we saw before, has no playable cards. So, yeah, Spreading Plague, he's going to need a lot of just store cards, basically. Another Drake, 2 Spreading Plagues, maybe. Just something to scale him up to this UI.
And the fact that the second Doom Guard wasn't discarded as well means things could go from bad to worse. There's the stall mechanic you were talking about, but it's just 2 1/5s.
Yeah, exactly. He might even
Just
hero power and try and hope that GeorgeC's hand is a lot of small minions. Maybe he spreads wide, but I imagine, knowing GeorgeC, he's going to play around the Spreading Plague, right? And he'll proceed to make the narrowest board he can, which he can easily do with Doom Guards and Bone Rares in hand. So Mysterious just makes the 2 1/5s now, hoping he can draw maybe Malfurion next turn and then into Lich King. He has to be really hopeful, basically, just playing with his deck rather than his hand.
Yeah, I mean, he was hoping for stuff in his previous game, and now he's going to be hoping even more for his deck to really help him out of this sticky situation.
Yeah, and we see just so much damage on board here from GeorgeC's side. The swipe does clean up quite a bit, though.
Yeah, swipe certainly is another stall mechanic. Just leaves, what, 7 on board. There is a Bone Mare available, though, for George.
Yeah, normally Deathwing is like a get-out-of-jail card for Mysterious, but on 8 mana, like, it's very rare. You run so many ramp cards from the Druid side. You normally, by this stage, are always playing UI and stuff. But just these are the games you lose as Big Druid. If you're playing a deck full of 10 drops and you don't draw any ramp, things aren't going to go your way. And passing on 8 mana basically never happens with this deck, but it's just happened.
Yeah, everything went wrong for Mysterious there. He was just playing a different card game, and we go to another game 5.
Yeah, third of the day.
Ball control. That's the first time I think it's actually happened in Premiership where we've had all our games go to the best of 5. So I'm happy. I think the Premiership deserves it for it being the last week of Swiss as well. But that's a lot of pressure on both these players when it's between live finals and not live finals. I'm trying to work out, and I don't want this to sound bad, but I'm trying to work out who this means more to. Mysterious, who has been to every finals previously, or George, who's never been to a Premiership finals. Bear in mind, he wasn't allowed to compete during the first early stages of Premiership because he was too young. So who do I want to see at finals? That's the thing, I don't know. Who would you rather play against at finals?
Well, I would just rather avoid GeorgeC because of his extensive, just good performances across all the international scene with the HCT events. So yeah, just avoiding GeorgeC will be our main concern. But
then you just get Mysterious, and he's just a different kettle of fish as well.
Yeah.
And now okay.
Hello, Eater of Secrets.
Eater of Secrets, indeed.
So I think GeorgeC might have had a different read. This looks like a Kazakus Priest, and you can afford to just change one slot. Changing one card from Eater of Secrets, like this card might have been a No Mission Venture or something previously, it's not going to affect too much. He's obviously going to mulligan it away now. And you can increase your win rate so much in some matchups just by changing one card, and it doesn't really decrease your win rates too much in others.
So, Kazakus Priest versus Big Druid then. I'm gonna ask you a question, and you don't have to answer it because you might not know, but have you played this matchup much? Like, yes. Is there a favorite here?
Yeah, so the Big Druid's favored. Of course, from the Priest side, you're looking for the Razand Anduin combo, and the Anduin's very powerful, but it's definitely one of those matchups where the Big Druid just plays almost too much big stuff for the Priest. The cards like Deathwing Dragonlord are just impossible to deal with from the Priest side. And then you have the power of the Medivh weapon, you've got your charge, there's just basically too many threats, I think. Oh, he doesn't kill the Blood Mage here to deny the card draw.
Interesting. Well, I guess that's how you can lose the game, right? Is just by the Priest drawing into all of the stuff they need earlier rather than later, and then being able to bash you down with Anduin plus Prophet Velen and Mind Blast, etc., etc.
Yeah, so we see the first half of the combo being drawn for George, so that's the Raza, and he has a lot of, these previously dead cards like Silence potentially, and Holy Smite can be cycled on the Lyra. Oh, there we see the Eater of Secrets contesting the 3-2.
Yeah, but it's not, it doesn't matter at this point, of course, if he shows it to Mysterious because it's 2-2, but it will also tell Mysterious when he looks back at what the read GeorgeC had of him was.
Yeah, so Mysterious has a choice here of 3 8-drops. The Drake can't be Death. The Lich King feels like it's best, but you would rather have the Medivh Death, so he could play Medivh as Death bait and then try and get the Lich King to stick. However, having said that, the Lich King does protect the Markeeper, and the Frostmourne is one of the most powerful pickups here, although it does clash with the Medivh weapon.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. but Frostmourne is just so huge. You don't see it as often as I thought you would. I mean, Lich King is certainly a very popular card now. It was very popular when it first came out, but then it dipped out, and then suddenly it's returned. So we are seeing it a little bit more than we are used to. For George, I guess there's nothing but deathing this 8-8. You're not going to leave this on the board at any point, but it's the other cards that go along with it.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a Frostmourne coming down straight away, because we want to get all 3 charges out before the Medivh. Primordial Drake, of course, is a good card in this situation as well. The Frostmourne is, if you play it now, then George might not play cards like Lyra that he would previously be playing, and you could potentially, by holding it back, get the Lyra, which would be amazing because you play so many cheap spells. With something Lyra with Frostmourne, with Innovates and with Earthen Scales, you can get so many extra resources.
Which is the safest play? Because I imagine that's what Mysterious will go for, because that's the kind of guy he is.
I mean, the safest play is Primordial Drake, but it might also be the correctest play as well.
The correctest. Yeah, well, in Mysterious's head, I think the safest play probably is the most correct play in every instance.
Yeah, so he can go with Lyra or Raza here. Now, he might be thinking to himself, if he goes for Lyra here, it makes Mysterious's turn really awkward. He might have to hero power or play swipe or something, and then he doesn't really want to do that. However, we do see the Frostmourne in hand, which is bound to be coming down.
So all the goodies that George needs to pick up then, because we were saying that this is potentially favouring the Druid, but another Mind Blast, that certainly helps. Prophet Velen double Mind Blast at some point.
Yeah.
Could be disgusting.
I imagine he might, I mean, I was just thinking he'll just cycle them now, at least one of them, yeah. Normally the HP can be too high from the Druid. It's more about just kind of almost, it's strange to say, but almost out-tempoing them with the Anduin plus the Raza. Like, sometimes you can kill everything they play, but normally it's weird. It just depends. It's very situational. Sometimes the Mind Blast can, be insane, but other times it's more about killing what they play. But we do see both Mind Blasts being cycled here. Ooh, Inner Fire as well.
Yeah, more goodies just to generate Shadow Essence.
That's a lot of face damage. Mysterious might be worried about this Frostmourne taking too much damage.
George still has Holy Fire available as well. He's got Shadow Form, he's got Embrace the Shadow, so still plenty of ways to actually send face damage as well. So really trying to be the aggressor here, and I guess you have to be. 2 Earthen Scales are in the deck of Mysterious. Of course, George won't know that, he wouldn't have seen it, but it's usually in there in Big Druid, right?
Yep. I mean, we saw them last game from our perspective, so we know they're there. He might just think too much face damage. I'm going to play Primordial Drake. Not going to play the Frostmourne. Doesn't need it. Thinks he already has enough value with this Yashaj as well. But the Yashaj does go into the Anduin turn. Is the awkward thing here. We see everything for the combo apart from the Anduin itself for George. I imagine he might get the Raza down this turn. He can Servitude the Lyra. The likelier for that to happen is the earlier he plays the Servitude, but there's not really too many spells for him to play with it.
So it's whether you could put down the, because you've got the, because you've got the Servitude, you could play the Prophet Velen now, because then essentially later on it might be a 4 mana Prophet Velen, right? Yeah.
So going through minions he's played a Blood Mage Thalmos, he's played a 2/3 Elemental. He's played a Ether of Secrets, he's played a Lyra. I think you're risking too much if you play the Velen, hope to get off Servitude. Yeah. It's going to become less than 50% chance, but maybe he might think that's his chance of winning the game later. And the Velen can test the board quite well here. There's a chance the Druid can't have good removal on it. So it's a really interesting turn here for George. We'll see what he decides to go with, and it looks like he's just going to plop the Velen. Hovering over it.
Yeah, clearly he's not sure on this one. He's probably weighing up the odds of it in his head. But plopping it down, he feels, is the best opportunity to win this game.
Yeah, so the thing of what GeorgeC's thinking is, I have no answer to the 10 drop. How do I deny the 10 drop without having an answer to it? I play the Velen and he has to swipe it, and there's no 10 drop. Like, if your charge came down here, GeorgeC would just die, basically. So this is why he's gone for the Velen play. Even though you might think he should be holding it for the combo, he needs to actually get to the combo.
And he needs to get to the combo to get to the finals. So Mysterious now, his turn becomes a little bit awkward. As you said, the swipe is in hand. Of course, Deathwing is not going to be used at this point.
Well, you could Frostmourne it, and then suddenly your swipe deals a lot of damage, but you're taking 7 damage in the process. You can, of course, override the Frostmourne immediately with the Medivh next turn, and you just get a 7/7. That's a huge swing turn, but does he want to pay 7 life for that?
Looks like he's going to leave it on the board. How detrimental is that?
So he's seen the Mind Blast already, he's seen the Holy Smite, so he's not worried about them. There's only really Holy Fire. Most people have cut Holy Nova. There's a potential Dragon Fire potion, but that would also kill the Prophet Venom, so he's not too worried about that. In the case of Anduin, of course, the Prophet Venom dies, so Mysterious isn't worried about that as well. So I think it seems all right considering what he's already seen, but this Holy Fire is a kind of a punisher.
It is a lot of damage that is going to go towards someone.
Wow, that's just, yeah, that's good.
Well, that's one way to get rid of that 10 drop that we were talking about earlier.
And the heal for 4 as well is amazing. So he again has the choice. After seeing even more burn damage there, he could still Frostmourne this. He has to be worried about dying from Anduin pings, but he does have, without the other scales in hand, he's very worried that he'll just die with the Frostmourne. I think he's just going to keep on trading here.
Yeah, probably just Medivh.
Yeah, he's just swinging first and then playing the Medivh. It seems like he's never going to play the Frostmourne. Hope he has enough threats just from the cards in his hand. Although playing the Medivh here, he doesn't have any expensive spells in his hand. He could have cycled the Wild Growth here over Hero Powering, because you don't want to cycle the Wild Growth with the Atiesh up. You are wasting it basically by getting a 2-drop and a Wisp.
Still no Anduin for George. And that, he needs it sooner rather than later. If he doesn't get it soon, then this game may be over.
Yeah, definitely. He's just holding on to the Raza since there's no point in really playing it. He doesn't need the mana for the hero power. He's going to go for the Servitude, which is your line, and try and hit that Bellon. Can he hit it? We'll see.
Nope.
It looks like he completely whiffed on that one.
Either whiffed or, yeah, I imagine if you had the option of Velen, right, you just choose it. Unless he sees the only way of winning this game is getting Anduin.
And that is a superb top deck there, the Dragon Lord, because Priest really struggles to remove it, and it's basically your play around Anduin, because of course it's basically currently 12-12, resummon a 12-12, which is like a mega cairn basically.
And how does the Priest deal with that? That's the thing.
Yeah. After seeing Shadow of Death, the only answer is random Lyra card. So there's 2 Lyra cards in GeorgeC's hand the Mysterious could be worried about. And then of course he's worried about the potential of the Anduin itself. After seeing the Raza coming down, he might think, oh, he just drew it. But I really think he just played the Dragon Lord here. And he could just push face damage here because the 5/5 does of course die to the Anduin. You could use your weapon to kill off the 1/1 even as well.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to use a Tish to kill off the 1/1, but he is still trading Mysterious. What I say earlier is he likes his safety.
I think that's a Mysterious trade. I like pushing the 7 there. He's worried about Spirit Lash and then 5 damage goes face. He's really playing the control aspect of this game, always trading, always taking the safe line because he thinks he wins in the late game. But I think the longer this game goes, the more likely GeorgeC is to win off the back of the Anduin. So I would rather be the aggressive player from Mysterious's standpoint.
So you could Kazakas here, potentially look for just some form of board clear just to get rid of the 4/1 and the 7/2. You're not going to get rid of the 12/12 unless you get some sort of polymorph effect, of course, but
I was just thinking how good Anduin would be, even with the Dirty Rat as well. But ignoring that, Kazakas, yeah, you could go 10. I mean, you very rarely go 10, but go for 10 mass poly. We do, however, see how much damage is on board right now. So he might just be scared of dying. There's swipe potential, and there's already 2 damage from the Atiesh. So how does he not die is his main concern here.
He does have Embrace the Shadows, so that means he can just ping off the 7/2.
And Shadow Form as well, and then that can ping off the 4/1. So he can definitely start pinging here. I imagine play the Kazakas and then just ping off 2 minions here. So actually there's more burst than I thought, because Frostmourne Innovate Swipe is 9 burst damage.
Yep, so he is going to use both Shadow Form and Embrace the Shadows just to make sure he gets rid of as much as possible of this board.
I think just the Shadow Form, it seems like.
Just the Shadow Form.
Wait, is this... So it's 16 on board, plus 9 burst, right? Is this just game?
I can't see the board.
Oh, wait. Frostmourne's 5, Swipe is 4, that's 9, and we see 16 on board. I think Mysterious sews this up.
Yeah, I think he does with the Innovate, right?
Yeah, with the Innovate. As long as you don't Innovate first, I mean...
So 16, you swipe, that's 20. Innovate, Frostmourne, hit face, 25. Mysterious should be going to the live finals.
Yeah, he looks like he's started counting here. He's hovering, you can see, when your opponent starts hovering over their minions and starts clicking on them, you start thinking, oh, maybe he has it.
Of course, the order doesn't matter too much if you can Frostmourne first and then Innovate and swipe. but it looks like Mysterious has clocked onto Lethal, and he will be eliminating GeorgeC from the competition. And Mysterious, who has made 3 top 8s already, 3 live finals already, will make a 4th one in a row, sending GeorgeC home. We'll be seeing him in January. Fantastic performance, but commiserations, we won't see GeorgeC competing at live finals.
Yeah, that has to be probably the largest shock of the season so far. Going into it, in the qualifiers, I think he went 10-0 in the first qualifier. So yeah, no losses coming in, and then suddenly to go 2-3 here, yeah, biggest surprise.
And I think for him,